Have you ever stopped to wonder, what if worry isn't even real? What if that tight knot in your chest, that anxious voice whispering about the future, is nothing more than a trick your mind plays on you? It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But for centuries, Buddhist wisdom has quietly reminded us of this profound truth. You might remember Bobby McFerrin's famous words, "Don't worry. Be happy." While it may seem like a simple, feel-good tune, those words carry a wisdom far deeper than most people realize. In today's video, we'll explore why worry is, in fact, an illusion. We'll uncover how everything we fear about tomorrow is born in the mind, and how the present moment, this single, living, breathing instant, is truly all we ever have. And here's the best part: by understanding this, you'll discover how to live with greater peace, lightness, and yes, genuine happiness. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could change the way you see life forever. So, what exactly is worry? According to Buddhism, it's something every one of us experiences. It creeps in late at night when the world is quiet, and our eyes stare into the darkness. We replay old conversations, imagining what we should have said. We build worst-case scenarios in our minds, trying desperately to plan for a future we can never truly control. Over time, we start to believe that worrying is normal, even necessary, that it means we care, that it shows we're being responsible. But here's the radical question: what if that belief is the real problem? In the teachings of Buddhism, worry isn't seen as a helpful or protective habit. It's recognized for what it truly is, a form of dukkha, a word in Pali that means suffering, dissatisfaction, and unrest. And this isn't just any kind of suffering. It's self-created, born not from what's happening right now, but from the countless possibilities our mind invents about what might happen later. Worry lives in the future, and in doing so, it steals us away from the only place life actually unfolds, the present moment. The Buddha taught that the present is not just important, it's the only place where life truly happens. Everything else, no matter how convincing, is nothing but imagination. From a Buddhist perspective, worry isn't just uncomfortable or distracting. It's dangerously misleading. It fools us into believing that if we think long enough, plan thoroughly enough, and anticipate every possible disaster, we'll somehow be safe. But Buddhism gently reveals this as an illusion. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is anicca, the truth of impermanence. Everything in life is constantly shifting, moving, and changing. No matter how much we prepare or plan, life will always surprise us. And worry, the constant companion of an anxious mind, often arises from another root cause, attachment, or upadana in Pali. We cling to people, outcomes, and situations. We grasp tightly at how we want things to turn out. And the tighter our grip, the more our fear grows. We fear losing what we have, or not receiving what we desire. That fear fuels worry. It sends the mind racing, chasing shadows of things that haven't, and may never, happen. Now, let's be clear, Buddhism doesn't teach us to stop caring. It teaches us to stop clinging. Because clinging creates dependency, and dependency breeds anxiety. The Buddha offered a powerful metaphor for this. Imagine a traveler walking through a dense forest. Suddenly, an arrow strikes them, real, sharp, and undeniably painful, but instead of tending to the wound, the traveler picks up another arrow and shoots themselves again. That second arrow, the one we fire into our own minds, is worry. It's what we do every time we replay past hurts, imagine new dangers, or obsess over things beyond our control. The first arrow is life, the natural ups and downs that come with being human. The second arrow is our reaction to it. And while we may not always avoid the first, the second is entirely optional. And here's where it gets truly liberating. Buddhism teaches that if worry is something we create, then it's also something we can uncreate. How? Through mindfulness, known as sati in Pali. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to observe our thoughts instead of becoming lost in them. Thoughts arise and pass, like clouds drifting across a vast sky. We learn to stop identifying with them, to see them for what they are, temporary, passing mental events. Worry is not who we are, it's simply something we experience. And anything we can observe, we can let go of. The next time you sit quietly and a wave of worry appears, the practice isn't to fight it. You don't have to wrestle it to the ground. You simply label it, worry, and then let it pass like a leaf floating down a stream. In that very moment, you reclaim your peace, not by fixing the future, but by returning, fully, to the now. So, once again, what is worry? According to Buddhism, it's a habit of the untrained mind, born from fear, clinging, and ignorance. And the beautiful truth is, it's absolutely possible to live without it. Not by pretending problems don't exist, but by clearly seeing through the illusion that worry solves them. Because the more we train our minds to stay present, the more we realize that this moment, right here, is not only enough, it's all we ever truly have. In the last part, we uncovered how worry is nothing more than a habit of the untrained mind, born from fear, attachment, and ignorance. And the beautiful truth is, it's entirely possible to live without it. Not by pretending that life is free from problems, but by recognizing the illusion that worry can ever solve them. The more we train our minds to stay present, the more we realize that this very moment, this single, precious instant, isn't just enough. It's truly all we ever have. Now, let's go a little deeper. The mind's trap, how we create suffering with thoughts. You see, the mind is a storyteller. Every single day, it spins endless narratives about who we are, what we need, what might happen next, and what we should fear. And here's the tricky part, most of the time, we believe these stories without question. We accept them as absolute truth. But Buddhism gently reminds us, when the mind is left untrained, it quickly becomes a trap, a restless, chaotic source of confusion, fear, and suffering. And one of the clearest examples of this is worry itself. Think about it. No one ever chooses to worry. It just happens, doesn't it? One tiny thought leads to another, and before you realize it, you've built an entire future in your head, a future that doesn't even exist. And yet, your heart races, your stomach tightens, and your emotions react as if it were happening right now. In Buddhist teaching, this is called samsara, the endless, repetitive cycle of suffering driven by craving, aversion, and ignorance. And worry sits right at the very heart of this cycle. But here's the thing, the real problem isn't that we have thoughts. Thoughts by themselves are natural, inevitable. The problem is that we believe them. We identify with them. If the mind says something bad is going to happen, we brace ourselves. If it whispers that we're not good enough, we shrink and pull away. Yet the simple, liberating truth is this: thoughts are just thoughts. They aren't reality. They're fleeting mental events, shaped by our memories, our conditioning, and our fears. But despite being temporary, they have the power to color our entire experience of life, unless we learn to see them for what they really are. That's why in Buddhism, there's a beautiful and powerful practice known as vipassana, or clear seeing. It's the art of looking directly into the nature of our thoughts and emotions, without judgment or resistance. As we practice vipassana, we begin to notice how quickly the mind reacts to discomfort. It tries to escape what's here by leaping into the past or worrying about the future. We see how one simple thought can grow into a story, and how stories are what create suffering. Here's a simple example. Imagine you're waiting for an important message from someone you care about. An hour passes, and still no reply. The mind starts spinning. Maybe they're upset with me. Did I say something wrong? What if something bad happened? In reality, nothing has happened. But your body responds as if a crisis is unfolding. Your chest tightens, your breathing quickens, and your peace evaporates, all because of a thought. That's the trap. And Buddhism teaches that to escape this trap, we don't fight the mind. We don't try to silence every thought. Instead, we observe them. We learn to create a small, precious space between the thought itself and our reaction to it. When a wave of worry arises, we don't have to follow it. We can notice it, gently acknowledge its presence, and let it drift by like a cloud across a clear sky. And in that simple act, freedom begins. The Buddha once compared the untrained mind to a wild elephant. Strong, powerful, and unpredictable, but without training, it causes chaos wherever it goes. Through meditation, mindfulness, and ethical living, we begin to tame this elephant. We guide the mind instead of letting it drag us wherever it pleases. And here's something beautiful: when we stop identifying with our thoughts, our suffering naturally begins to dissolve. We realize we don't need to fix every problem, control every outcome, or predict every possible future. All we need to do is stay aware, moment by moment. Because in that awareness, worry loses its power. It only thrives when we aren't paying attention. So yes, the mind can absolutely be a trap. But it can also be our greatest tool for liberation, if we learn to use it wisely. Living in the present, the real antidote. Let's take a moment, right now, wherever you are, pause for just a breath. Close your eyes if you'd like. Inhale slowly, exhale gently. That breath, that is your anchor. It's the present moment, and it's always here for you. Steady and faithful, no matter how far your thoughts might try to wander. Now, think about how most of us live our lives. Our bodies may be sitting, walking, working, but our minds? They're somewhere else entirely. We're replaying an awkward conversation from last week. We're stressing about an email we haven't answered. We're already worrying about a deadline tomorrow. And while all that noise fills our heads, what happens? We miss what's actually real. As we explored before, most of us live with our minds scattered, leaping ahead, chasing what-ifs, or replaying old worries. And while all of this is happening, something precious slips away unnoticed, this very moment. Right now, Buddhism teaches a truth that's both simple and profoundly life-changing. Suffering begins the moment we leave the present. It happens when we resist what's here, wishing it were different, or clinging to how we think things should be. And anxiety? Anxiety is the unmistakable signal that we're no longer grounded in the now. It's a flashing light that says, you're living in a future that doesn't exist. It means we're arguing with life before it's even had a chance to happen. But what if we didn't have to keep doing this to ourselves? What if, instead of fighting against the waves of life, we could gently teach ourselves to stay present, not forever, not for hours, but just for one breath, one step, one simple moment at a time? This is where the practice of mindfulness comes in. And no, it's not just about sitting in silence with your eyes closed for 20 minutes a day. Mindfulness is about noticing. It's about waking up to your life fully. When you eat, you actually taste the food. When you walk, you feel your feet pressing against the earth. When you listen to someone speak, you don't rush to respond. You don't judge. You simply listen, present and open. And something extraordinary happens when we begin to live this way. The noise inside our heads starts to soften. That tight, anxious pressure in our chest begins to ease. The endless stories we tell ourselves about what could go wrong start to dissolve. We stop building towering mountains out of tiny passing thoughts. We stop making ourselves sick with imagined possibilities. And in their place, we find something else entirely: presence. We rediscover peace. Now you might be wondering, but how do I stay present when life feels so uncertain? The answer isn't to try and control life. It's to trust it, because being present doesn't mean everything is perfect. It simply means you're strong enough to stay with what is, instead of running from what might be. And here's a gentle truth most people overlook: when you're fully present, you make better choices. You see things with greater clarity. You respond thoughtfully, instead of reacting impulsively. You breathe instead of panicking. And in that quiet, spacious pause between thought and action, that's where your real power lives. That's where freedom is born. We don't have to live trapped inside our own minds. We can train ourselves to come back to the present. Again and again. No guilt, no rush. Just a simple, steady return to the breath, to the body, to the now. Because the truth is, this moment is the only place where happiness can exist. Not in the memory of yesterday. Not in the fantasy of tomorrow. Right here, and it's in this quiet, ordinary moment that you'll find everything you've been searching for. So the next time a thought begins to spin, your heart starts racing, and your mind builds its towering what-if scenarios, pause. Place a gentle hand on your chest. Take a slow breath, and smile, even just a little, as you softly say to yourself, "I'm here, I'm safe, I'm enough." That, right there, is the real antidote to anxiety. Not control, not perfection, but presence, and trust. Trusting life, the art of letting go. Now, letting go might sound simple in theory, but if you've ever tried it, you know it's one of the hardest things we can do. Deep down, most of us carry this quiet, lingering fear, that if we loosen our grip, everything will fall apart, that if we stop worrying, we'll lose control, that if we stop trying so hard, something terrible might happen. And so we hold on tightly. We cling to plans, to expectations, to people, and outcomes. Our grip grows tighter and tighter, as if the act of holding on could somehow keep us safe. But Buddhism offers a radically different, and deeply freeing, perspective. The more you cling, the more pain you create. Trusting life doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means recognizing that control was never the real answer. All that worrying, all those endless overthought scenarios, the constant need to plan every detail, none of it was keeping you safe. It was draining your precious energy. Because here's a truth no one teaches us when we're young: life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be experienced, completely, honestly, one moment at a time. Just look at nature. A tree doesn't stress about when its leaves will fall. A river doesn't panic when its flow shifts. A bird doesn't question whether the wind will hold it. There's a quiet, unshaken trust built into the fabric of nature. A deep calm in how life moves. And Buddhism reminds us, we are not separate from that. We are part of it. Life isn't something happening to us. We are life itself, unfolding in this very moment. When we fight that truth, we suffer. When we resist, we tighten up. But when we trust, truly trust, we relax. And you've likely felt this before. Those rare, beautiful moments when nothing is certain. And yet somehow, you feel completely at peace. Maybe it happened during a crisis. Maybe during a big life change. Or maybe in that simple, liberating moment when you finally said to yourself, "I don't know what's coming, but I'll handle it when it does." That's trust. That's the heart of letting go. And strangely enough, it's in those very moments that we feel most alive. As we touched on before, learning to trust life means loosening our grip on the illusion of control. And while that sounds freeing in theory, in practice it often requires us to confront some old, stubborn patterns within ourselves. ways of thinking we've carried for years without even realizing it. We have to begin facing these deep-rooted beliefs. The idea that worrying somehow proves we care. That if we plan everything down to the last detail, we're being responsible. That having control over everything makes us strong. But the Buddha didn't ask us to run away from life, to escape its chaos and unpredictability. No, he invited us to meet life exactly as it is. With all its beauty, its unpredictability, its messy, tangled moments, and its quiet, breathtaking ones. He taught one of the simplest yet most profound truths: everything changes. In Pali, it's called anicca, the law of impermanence. Nothing stays the same forever. Not your feelings, not your circumstances, not even your worries. And when we truly understand this, not just as a lovely idea to repeat, but as something we live and feel in the small moments of everyday life, something shifts inside us. We start to hold life a little more lightly. We loosen our need to control every single outcome. We stop exhausting ourselves by chasing after certainty and begin to notice that peace doesn't come from knowing what's going to happen. It comes from being fully here. It comes from surrender. But it's important to remember, surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving in, not to weakness or failure, but to wisdom. It's quietly saying, I will do my best, but I will not lose my peace trying to manage what's beyond my reach. It's the gentle realization that life is far greater than you. And that isn't something to be afraid of. It's something to admire, because the moment you stop trying to micromanage the entire universe, you begin to realize you're not separate from it. You are a part of it. You start to feel, maybe for the first time, that you're being guided, even if you can't see where the path is leading. And this is where true freedom lives. Not in a single epiphany, not in one perfect meditation, but in letting go of control again and again, breath after breath, day after day. Every time fear creeps in and whispers, you'll only be safe if you control everything. You learn to pause, to gently respond. No, I choose trust instead. Trust in the way things unfold. Trust that what's meant for you will find you, in its own time and way. Trust that when the right moment comes, you'll know what to do. And if you don't, you'll trust that not knowing is a part of the journey too. And this kind of trust isn't passive. It's not about sitting back and letting life roll over you. It's a living, breathing trust, one that stirs you to act when it's time to act, to rest when it's time to rest. It's not laziness, it's alignment. It's learning to listen to your body, your breath, your heart's quiet wisdom. It's about letting go, not because you're giving up, but because you're finally waking up. So where do we start? Start small. Notice when you're trying to control something. Feel that tightness in your chest, that clenching in your stomach, the stiff grip in your thoughts. Pause, take a slow, steady breath, and then ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I loosen my grip? Just a little? Then, when you're ready, release. Just a little, and watch what happens. Maybe the world won't fall apart. Maybe, instead, something unexpected and beautiful will appear. Maybe you'll feel a little lighter, a little more open, a little more at ease in your own skin. And with time, you'll begin to realize that letting go isn't the end. It's the beginning. It's the doorway to a new way of living, a way not built on fear, but on quiet, steady trust, a way that gently reminds you, no matter what life brings, you can face it. So yes, I can face whatever life brings. Not with worry, but with presence. Not with struggle, but with calm, steady strength. And that's exactly what the Buddhist path invites us to discover. To stop clinging so tightly. To begin trusting. To let life unfold in its own imperfect, beautiful way. And in doing so, to finally allow ourselves to be free. Maybe, after all these years, Bobby McFerrin was pointing to something far deeper than we realized. Don't worry, be happy isn't just a light-hearted tune, it's a doorway into a timeless truth that Buddhism has whispered for ages. Worry never kept us safe. It never truly prepared us. It only distracted us from the one thing that's real, this very moment. And right now, in this breath, there is peace, there is life. There's a chance to return home to yourself. So let's stop pouring our precious energy into what hasn't happened yet. Let's stop chasing thoughts to places our hearts were never meant to live. The Buddhist path isn't about escaping life, it's about waking up to it. With clarity, with kindness, and with quiet trust. If something in this message stirred a part of you, if it made you pause, reflect, or see things even a little differently, then you're already on the path. And you don't have to walk it alone. Subscribe to the channel, and let's keep exploring these gentle, powerful teachings together, because the world doesn't need more worry. It needs more presence, more peace, and more of us choosing to live with open, steady hearts. I'll see you in the next video.